Hi everybody, it's Kathy from Huckleberry Herbs and Art. I hope you're all doing well. I had promised a few weeks ago that I would show you how to use the Gina K Wreath Builder stencil and some of the products that I now have at HuckleberryHerbs.com. I want to show you quickly. We're going to take a look at how to make one of these cards with the cute little pumpkins and the lovely maple leaves, and I'm actually going to focus in on these cards where I took the wreath builder and used embossing powder to make some pretty little black, gold, and white cards. Alright, so we'll get right to it. Here are a few of the items that I'll be using. I have a few of these Gina K inks in some fall colors. I don't have all of her colors yet, but these ones are the ones that I purchased first, and I tried to pick out a collection of colors that would be good for fall and Halloween and Thanksgiving. So this has turned into my favorite, this jelly bean green. I even bought a little of her cardstock in that color. The Gina K stencils actually comes in a 2-pack, and I have the other one ready to go already, but you get 2 different sizes. This lovely autumn wreath builder set is great. It has so many little things, and when you first look at it you might not think, oh, perfect, but it really does come together well. That little package of papers are the pre-cut papers that fit right inside the stencil, and I'm going to start with one of the little maple leaves. One thing to remember is that Gina K says really you should start off with your card standing up straight. Don't start on the diagonal. Stand it up straight to get started, because if you start from the corners then you might end up running short on space according to where you put your stamp. So you just set your stamp up on your paper and pick it up on your stamp pad or your stamp press. I'm using the Tim Holtz stamp press, and I actually decided to do this with 2 different colors. So I'm laying down a color first and then coming back and just hitting the tips of the leaves on the top so I can have a little mixture of a color. And then you just turn your stencil, or your card inside the stencil, 1 turn if that's what you want, and go back and re-ink again. And it's going to take me a little while to figure out that I really am going to need to lay these out so I can do this in some sort of an organized fashion. So one thing about using the wreath builder and the stamp pad is that you do have to sort of develop a rhythm, and if you're going to do 2 different color inks like I am, even more of a rhythm, in that you see, you can even see me going over there and wait a second, I'm done. No, I'm not. So you just keep turning the card and putting your ink on and having everything lined up so that you can just keep being productive is key to getting it done. These stencils amazed me. They're just 2 squares cut in opposite directions in the stencil, but my goodness, this wreath building thing is so fun. It's very relaxing, but it takes a bit of concentration. I'll show you where I lose my concentration a few times while I'm going through this process. Just to remember the order that you're doing things in. You know, turn the card, go back, stamp it, put your other color on if you're going to do what I'm doing, and try to layer up the colors. And this maple leaf, I didn't really make it 2 different colors that pop. So you'll see in a moment when I go back to do the next stamp that I decided I didn't want it to be that subtle, and I'll change it up a little. But for right now, I think you can see a little bit of the red on the tips, which makes them a little fun. And see, right there, I went right past where I was supposed to go and caught myself. So now that I have the maples on, I'm coming back with one of the little, I think it's oak leaves that you get with the set. And I have these stamp sets and the stencils and stuff in the store if anybody's interested in picking these up. I have them at HuckleberryHerbs.com. I've just started putting Gina K things in there. I really enjoy her. So this Distress Oxide, I needed some more yellow, and I didn't have any of the yellow inks yet. So the sweet mango wasn't quite the color I was looking for. So I decided I'm going to take out just this one Distress Oxide, and then I'm going to tip it off with that red velvet, and that's where I'm going to get the extra color and pop. Now, you might be concerned that you're going to mix your colors, and it did. It mixed a little bit on my ink pads, but I also don't want to be so concerned with my materials that I don't just use them in a creative way and enjoy the process. So there's a little ink, but I'm just gonna get that off of my pads later. I could have inked it, cleaned it, inked it again, but I wanted the two colors on there so that they were kind of smooshed together and blend a little bit inside the leaf the way a real leaf might be. I didn't want there to be a cut-off line or something in the colors. So this is a nice little pop of the red and the yellow mixed in on this oak leaf. And again, I'm trying to get into that rhythm of stamp, turn, put the ink on, start all over again. And once you get the hang of it, it does move by pretty quickly. And what's coming in front of your eyes is amazing. See, there you go. I'm losing my concentration. It's amazing. It's a very relaxing feeling, just being able to stamp over and over and watching this pretty wreath be created so well. Well, there's one of my distractions. There's Raspberry. Yeah, I thought I'd point her out because she was making it a little hotter. I've got the camera, I've got the dog. You could see she tore up a box there, which I gave her to tear. But she's a puppy. She's 6 months old, and she's looking for the next thing. So she's really taking from my attention a bit. Anyway, back to the wreath. It's a fun process to go through, and I'm enjoying these, and it's giving me so many different ideas about things that I might be able to do with this. And I'm going to show you an embossed version in a little while, but right now these little pieces that come with the wreath builder are so fun to use. And once you get the basic wreath down, or whatever design it is that you want, it's cool to go back and look at the little tidbits. Like I took this little set of leaves right here and I lined that up where I wanted it, and you see I'm breaking the rule now by starting off on the diagonal, which if you want to do that you can. And I knew I wasn't going to be going all the way around with this. I've got that jelly bean green out now, so I was pretty sure I wasn't going to fall off of the paper with this. And I just wanted to add a little bit of the greenery in with the leaves. So just a nice little touch of this little cluster of leaves. And I'm not going to do it on every single turn. I'm going to go from the diagonal to the diagonal. So there's the regular square, and now back to the diagonal. So I'm skipping. And it's nice because then I have the two leaves that I laid down first, the maple and the oak, to sort of ground it and center it. And then you can come back in and, add a little more spice to it by being eclectic and having a few different things to put on the wreaths. So once I finish this one, I'm gonna pick one more out and show you just one more of the little leaves that come with the set that I'll add. And this one just has two little leaves, and I'll just place that right where I want it. It's okay if things overlap, and that's the way a real wreath would be anyway. And I could have used magnets to hold this down, but as I've said, there's sort of a rhythm to doing this, and so you don't necessarily want to have a magnet to have to pick up each time either. So just popping the paper off of the stickiness of the ink and placing it carefully back in the stencil. You do want to be not too quick to notice that your stencil has gone off, or that your paper has gone out of the stencil a little bit. Try to pick at least one corner that's always tucked in exactly the same way, because whether you cut the papers or you get the papers cut for you, there may be a little bit of a discrepancy in the sizes. So if you pick just one corner and make sure that one is always, and I'm using actually the bottom corner, making sure it's tucked in completely before you do the next stamping, everything should turn out just right. And I don't think that when you look at this all together you would spot any little mistake. I I'll add a little of those dots as well, and a few other things. And that's the one with the pumpkins. I enjoyed the pumpkins very much. So I decided, okay, now I'm going to cut my own piece of black paper. I just was dying to see what this would do with some embossing. And I'm taking that same maple. I'm starting off right with the paper squared straight up and down, and picking up the maple, but I'm not going to go any further until, if I'm going to emboss this, I come back with a little bit of powder. So don't forget to, I do that all the time. How about you? Forget to powder up your work because you're so excited to get the embossing done that you forget to put the powder down. And then don't you always regret it, because once you try to lay the embossing powder down and you tap it off, you come back and you're disappointed because there's embossing powder everywhere you do not want it. So lucky me, this time I remembered to put the powder down. And this is really sticky because it's the Versamark, right? So I mean, Versamark is glue essentially on a pad. You can see my pad's really not very good looking. It still works fine. It does get messy because it picks up all kinds of little stains and things because it is glue. Now when I first started this, I thought I was only going to use the maples in the four corners, if you want to, or top, bottom, left, right. And then I decided, no, I want the maples again all the way around the edges, and I want those oak leaves in between again. But then I wanted to stop. I didn't want to do too much with this. But you also, if you want to take it a little step at a time, so I'm putting the embossing powder on now on the maple leaves, and I'm going to take that to the side and use my heat gun to heat it up and emboss it, and then bring it back and do the next one. I was afraid if I really got moving along there, you can see your hands are all over the place just trying to get the next stamp on. I didn't want to move the embossing powder. And here I do find that now that the card stock has been heated, it's curved a little bit, so I'm going to use a magnet, which is going to add a little more complexity to it, but that's okay because it'll come out nice if I make sure that the corners are in the stencil properly. So now I'm coming back with that same oak leaf, and it's really neat to watch this evolve from that first stamp that you pick out and the first turn that you make after you've done your first stamping. And you know, by the end, when it's all the way around in this lovely little circle that you didn't have to measure and you didn't have to draw lines all over, that you end up with this pretty wreath with all the decor just where you would like it if you could do all the measuring perfectly. So back with some gold embossing powder, and then I'll take this away and heat this up. I did two of these wreaths. One of them I did with a regular gold embossing powder, and one I did with a slightly green gold, and that came out really neat. I'm thinking the next time I would like to try gold and silver, and but this one's going to come out all gold. So off to the heat gun and get this ready for the next step. So this actually, the set comes with a circle so that you can make a little circle inside, and on the other two cards I did use that stamp. This one I'm not going to. I'm just going to use the Thanksgiving blessings and put it in the center without the circle around it. And I've decided to emboss it in white. I could have done gold and that would have looked neat. I'll probably try one with all gold, but I wanted to make sure that the sentiment popped and that you could easily see the words Thanksgiving blessings. So when I finish with the Versamark here, I'm going to come back with white embossing powder instead. And I am going to put my magnet down to make sure that while I'm getting the sentiment on here that the cardstock doesn't move. You only want to have to stamp it once in this case. So on with the white embossing powder, and I think it came out pretty neat and clear. There's a couple little speckles I didn't get, but heck, it's a handmade card, right? So there's the finished product. I think it came out pretty nice. I like it. And there's the one I did with the two different types of gold right there. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for visiting me and for taking the time out to watch me create. I hope it's helpful to you, or that you just at least can relax to it. That's what I do with YouTube videos. I so enjoy watching all of you make videos as well. So I loved the little pumpkin stamp, and these are going to be great to give out to my colleagues and the mail lady and friends and family, and they're so easy. I mean, people keep saying that they're addicted to the wreath builder. Let me tell you, this is a lot of fun, and it goes along pretty quickly once you get the hang of it. I really did get better at, if you compare the two. This was my first try at doing some ombre or mixed colors, but it really came out much better on the second one. I started to smooth that out, and I have some Gina K envelopes and cardstocks. I just put the little maple leaf in the corners of the envelope so there was something cute and matching. And I don't know, which one do you like out of the two? I like them both for what they are. This one that's all pretty much the same kind of gold, versus this one has sort of a green gold to it. I like them both. And I did put sentiments in. The sentiments are great. Eat, drink, and be thankful for maybe somebody you don't know as well, and so grateful for you, for somebody who's a little bit closer, who you really want to thank for something. I had so much fun doing this. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Thank you so much for coming by. Till next time, this is Kathy from Huckleberry Herbs and Art. God bless.